I am Clara, 58, and shaped by a lifetime of love and sacrifice. My home, filled with warmth and the scent of baking bread, doesn't just house me, it shelters the echoes of laughter and memories. Photographs adorn the walls, encapsulating cherished moments. David's first steps, his enthusiastic leap during graduation, the day he found love and brought Melanie into our lives. I sit in my favorite armchair, running my fingers over an old scrapbook, each turn revealing memories intertwined with the nurturing spirit I poured into my child. The lavender scent wafts from my garden, a reminder of simpler days filled with light. I remember diligently working 2 jobs, the rhythmic clattering of dishes at the diner and the solitude of office work at night blending together. My efforts were driven by the hope of providing David with every opportunity possible. A dance class here, tutoring sessions there. I sacrificed my joy for his dreams, pouring my love into every decision. Flipping through the scrapbook, I pause at his childhood drawings, capturing his wider-than-life imagination. I recall the laughter that bounced against the walls, his eyes igniting with dreams. My heart felt full, each achievement a testament to our bond. But then, Melanie stepped in, a change I welcomed without hesitation. Her polished charm seemed to complement David's warmth, causing me to disregard the sharpness that lurked beneath. As months passed, that laughter began to dim, overshadowed by her dismissive comments masked as jokes. I found myself watching the 2 of them at family dinners, their shared laughter replacing the harmonious familiarity I cherished. I tried to shrug off the unease swirling in my gut, but each event felt like a subtle shift in dynamics. David, my once constant companion, seemed to slip away, inch by inch. With every gathering, I sensed a growing distance. The heaviness in the air thickened as I poured my heart into home-cooked meals, each plate served becoming an act of unnoticed love. Melanie's barbed comments sliced through the atmosphere, replacing joy with an unsettling chill. In these moments, my heart trembled, burdened by the fear of being reduced to an outsider in my own family. Still, I squeezed the scrapbook tightly, feeling the pulse of memories just beneath the surface. My bond with David, once a radiant connection, now feels frayed. I long to reclaim that closeness, the unity we shared amid love and laughter. As I observe the growing shadows at the table, I realize I cannot let this continue. It is time to confront it, to reclaim my rightful place, not just as a mother, but as a woman no longer willing to tolerate the humiliation. The moment of reckoning is near, and the call to rediscover my voice grows louder. Melanie first entered our lives like a sudden gust of wind, fresh and invigorating, yet carrying with it an unsettling chill. Her first visit to our home lingered in my memory, the way she moved through my space, confident, immaculate, and with a smile that felt almost rehearsed. David beamed with pride, introducing her as if she were the missing puzzle piece of his life, filling me with elation. Yet, as I set the table that day, I felt an odd sensation in the pit of my stomach, a quiet foreboding I couldn't shake off. From the start, I made a point to embrace her, to create a sense of belonging. I found joy in preparing her favorite dishes, arranging flowers to prettify our table, trying to cultivate a warm atmosphere. But every cherishing moment felt tainted by her sharp wit and biting humor, which often found its mark on me. She would compliment my cooking with an ironic twist. "Too bad you didn't learn to make a proper souffle. Attending cooking classes might still serve you well," she giggled. I forced a smile, but her words ricocheted in my mind, piercing my confidence. During family gatherings, the dynamic shifted. What was once a space for shared laughter morphed into an arena for her glib remarks to flourish. I remember one awkward Sunday dinner. the air saturated with tensions as she invited friends over without prior warning. My heart sank as I served dinner to a room filled with strangers. I did my best to engage, yet Melanie's comments overshadowed me. "Isn't Clara charming?" she said, laughter erupting around her. She still uses recipes from her mother's 1970s cookbook. So quaint. Those words wrapped around me like a noose, and the laughter echoed around the table, bouncing off the walls of our home that had once symbolized warmth and safety. My cheeks flushed, heat rushing to my ears as I glanced furtively at David. His eyes were diverted, busied with conversation and eager to avoid conflict. I could sense a shift in the family dynamic, an undercurrent that turned comfortable interaction sharp and perfumed with criticism. Each time we gathered, the memories of my love poured into our household now felt overshadowed by Melanie's aloofness. The festive dinners blurred into memories of uncomfortable silences, where the vibrations of familial connection felt more like feigned politeness. My close-knit interactions with David were replaced by muffled exchanges, filled with hesitancy and the occasional bite of sarcasm from Melanie, echoing long after the laughter faded. As I began to notice the recurring pattern, I felt an undeniable weight settle in my chest. Every dismissal, every condescending glare from Melanie cut deeper, revealing the festering wound of my isolation. During one family lunch, I recall her voice still ringing in my ears. "Oh, Clara, bless you for trying to be a part of modern parenting. Does David still need you to help him pick out clothes? I guess some of us never stop being mommy's little boys." The laughter erupted again, but it crushed me like a tidal wave. David sat silent, the flickering candlelight illuminating his shifting gaze, betraying how he too felt the weight of her words. But instead of reaching back for me, he leaned into the comfort of her attention, offering me only silence. I remember many evenings spent in solitude after those gatherings, inhaling the scents of spent candles and leftover meals. The house I had nurtured transformed into a mausoleum of forced memories, laughter replaced by whispers of self-doubt. I found my sanctuary in the lavender garden outside, its fragrance igniting brief moments of escape, yet those moments felt fleeting. Every petty jab from Melanie chipped away at my spirit like waves eroding ashore, and I couldn't cling to the memories that once connected us. Slowly, I began to question my worth. Where once I had been a cherished mother and confidant, I felt like an awkward guest at my own family's table. Even as the tension thickened, a deep-rooted determination flickered within me, a small ember refusing to be extinguished. I needed to reclaim my place. I needed to confront this hostility head-on. With each passing day, I examined Melanie's sarcasm closely, noticing the relentless digs that dripped with a toxic blend of arrogance and manipulation. A resolve began to bubble up within me. I would not be a victim of her belittling comments or dismissive smirks. I had spent years cultivating the essence of my family, and it was I who deserved to stand in the light, to not cower in the shadows. The fight to reclaim our truth lay ahead, an uphill battle I must prepare for, to let the embers of resilience ignite into flames of confrontation. In the quiet corners of my home, I contemplated how to gradually assert myself, to restore the honor I had built within this dwelling. The journey to reclaim that bond with David had illuminated not just my pain, but my inherent strength, the strength of a woman who had fought for her family and bestowed them with unwavering love. I would no longer allow Melanie to define the dynamics of our family. The shadows at the table were growing longer, but as they cast their stain, I felt empowered to seek light once more. In the silent moments that followed family gatherings, my resolve transmuted into a plan, an intricate web woven with cautious threading of dignity and determination. I spent evenings sitting by the window, the soft glow of the setting sun illuminating my thoughts. I would reclaim my rightful place not just for myself, but for David too. The first step was clear. I needed to set boundaries, to articulate what I would no longer accept at my own dinner table. I reached for my phone, scrolling through old messaging threads of David's childhood. A world filled with innocence and trust, a stark contrast to the current disarray. My heart clenched at the sight of his younger self, his face a reflection of hope. I wanted that David back, the one who looked up to me, the one who thrived on my guidance. As I surveyed the cluttered kitchen table, cluttered during one of my contemplative evenings, I decided to create a new ritual. We always shared meals, an act of love. What if I infused these moments with intention? A weekly family dinner that I could blog about. I could introduce a theme for each gathering, showcasing a dish from our past alongside engaging conversation starters that would steer us away from teasing jabs. I could reignite our history and breathe life into our connections. Yet, to execute my plan, I knew I needed to employ careful strategies, holding conversations with David that both captured his attention and provoked thoughts about his relationship with Melanie. After spinning my ideas in my mind, I realized I had much at stake. I needed to approach him with respect as an adult. Before our next dinner, I felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety, practicing my words in front of the mirror. The materials on the table, fresh vegetables, aromatic herbs, all became symbols of healing. What began as remnants of disconnection transformed into a canvas awaiting color. I would invite David into this process, rekindling a connection through culinary love. The night before the dinner, the air buzzed with tension as I meticulously laid out the ingredients on the counter. I infused each dish with memories, from the rich veal stew I had cooked for his birthdays to the comforting mac and cheese on bleak winter days. I imagined his delighted expression, his eyes lighting up with nostalgia. When David arrived, I felt the familiar sense of warmth radiating from his presence, his laughter echoing softly in my kitchen, filling the empty spaces. Conversations swirled overhead as we chopped vegetables, catching glimpses of the boy I once knew. I could feel the tension ease ever so slightly. It felt as if time, which had slipped through our fingers like sand, was reclaiming moments lost. But I needed to be vigilant. As we set the table, Melanie entered, a whirlwind of energy that shifted the balance. She smiled, but there was that familiar edge, a flicker of readiness to pounce. I silently chided myself, reminding myself that I was prepared. I must remain poised. The dinner commenced, and I tried to steer the conversation toward lighter topics. David seemed engaged, reminiscing about his childhood with each bite. Yet, I noticed Melanie's condescending smile reappear. "Oh, Clara, did you once do this with canned vegetables?" she quipped, leaning back in her chair, arms crossed. This was my moment. Instead of bracing for impact, I recalled every hurt she had wafted against me. I lifted my chin ever so slightly, letting the confident glimmer shine through. "Actually, Melanie, I believe this dish has roots in our family traditions. It symbolizes love and resilience, unlike any fast food substitute," I said, my heart racing as I maintained eye contact. The room fell into a stunned silence. David glanced between us, caught off guard. I could feel the electricity in the air swaying, and for a brief second, Melanie faltered, her calculated smile wavering. It was a tiny victory, but it heralded something anew, a shift in dynamics. With each family dinner, I slowly introduced new boundaries with subtlety. I presented stories of courage and kindness from our past, invitational themes that allowed David to navigate deeper conversations, all while steering clear from Melanie's teasing jibes. Layered with each event, I felt the facade she carried fragment, revealing cracks in her seemingly perfect image. Yet I remained cautious. Each evening served as both a lesson and a strategy session. I worked to strengthen my relationship with David while tactically confining Melanie's influence. I often whispered my mantra, "They can mute me at the table, never in my heart," a reminder that my dignity was neither hers to steal nor David's to overlook. As the weeks turned into months, those family dinners started to shift. Laughter returned along with the warmth I craved. I could see changes in David, his attentiveness growing stronger, and his heart reawakening to the threads of history binding us. I still faced the daunting challenge of Melanie's presence, but I began to feel emboldened, no longer sidelined in my own home. I was taking control, reclaiming a piece of my identity, and with that came an awareness, my dignity woven tightly around my heart, ready to defend and restore what truly mattered. As the warmth of laughter gradually illuminated our home, I sensed a heavy fog still lingering. Melanie's sharp edges remained intact, waiting silently for openings to strike. My newfound courage launched me into a deeper quest for clarity. I could no longer navigate this home without unveiling the complexities of not just my relationship with David, but understanding the true fabric of the environment Melanie had effectively woven. I dedicated my evenings to observing her, dissecting the moments where her facade slipped. I took mental notes, chronicling her interactions with David, causing subtle ripples that often escaped unnoticed. I employed my internal dialogue as I observed, whispering my mantra to maintain focus. They can mute me at the table, never in my heart. Wednesday evenings became my ritual. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I would prepare for our family dinners, often enlisting David's help in the kitchen, inviting him into the process so I could source insights. Together, we started a new tradition, David assisting me in creating our family recipes, allowing him to get a taste of the nurturing meals that had once brought us together. But I remained vigilant, keeping one ear open to Melanie during our preparations. One evening, as I cut into fresh vegetables and David sautéed them, I felt a pulse of energy between us. "I've been thinking about family traditions, Mom. You know, the real ones," he mused, a curious look crossing his face. "I miss sharing stories over dinner." His words uplifted me since he was beginning to notice the essence of those tattered strings. I seized on this moment. Traditions have power, David. They tie us to our roots. Our stories are woven into our food, making each gathering matter. I wanted to imprint this lesson into his mind. As the dishes simmered, I caught sight of Melanie in the adjacent room, scrolling through her phone with disinterest. A quick glance at David's face betrayed that he too recognized her aloofness, another reminder that she could cast shadows over our golden hour. He sighed wistfully. "Maybe we should revive some of those old traditions, Mom," David continued, his eyes animated. "What was that one about the summer potlucks?" I felt a small thrill of hope. These moments could be pivotal in restoring our bond. Yet I knew Melanie posed a distinct threat. Determined to gather evidence of her behavior, I decided to be subtle in my approach. I began keeping a journal by my nightstand, chronicling our family dynamics and her comments with unwavering detail, each entry revealing the nuances that formed gaps in our conversations. Each Saturday I would document instances of her sarcasm, snarky jokes, and the way David would continue to retreat after one of her criticisms. I needed tangible proof to understand the patterns, to feel the shadows as they crept in. Some nights, I'd read entries aloud to myself, searching for clarity. mapping the twists and turns of our interactions. Why does David always laugh at her jokes? I would question aloud. Does he truly not see the harm in her words? I started noticing other details too, nuances that painted a broader picture. At the last family gathering, I detected how she would often redirect conversations, steering them back to herself, turning moments of shared nostalgia into platforms for her grandiose stories. I felt like a spectator in a play, a role that was neither welcome nor wanted. Then came the pivotal moment that shifted my perspective completely. During one dinner, Melanie gifted David a sleek watch, a gesture I assumed to deconstruct what may have been intended as affection. As he unwrapped it, he smiled, but I saw the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. Immediately, she claimed ownership of the moment. "Now my Prince Charming will never be late for anything," she proclaimed, her voice dripping with a self-satisfied glee. That fatally wounding phrase echoed in my mind unwittingly. David feigned enthusiasm, but the truth veiled itself beneath in an attempt to please her, an unseen bond forming that felt terrifyingly tight. He still needed the nurturing and guidance that I had once provided, and Melanie sought to thwart it each time. I felt my heartbeat quicken, a swirling storm of protectiveness emerging, urging me to intervene, but I held back, grappling with the complexities of their relationship. Later that night, I confided in my journal, feeling the need to pour my heart out. "David, where is your strength? Why do you find comfort in her superficial gestures?" My ink smeared the page. Frustration bubbled, yet clarity arose. David needed proof not just of Melanie's antics, but of his strength. He needed to realize that love was layered, often masked beneath the surface of glamour and quick wit. I began concocting a series of dinner discussions, targeted conversations on the horizon. I invited family friends into our web, thriving stories from our collective past, attempting to thread nostalgia and connection into our meals. Each face was a link to a familiar story that could embolden and reaffirm David's position in this shift, hoping to reveal Melanie's grasp. I envisioned a moment in our humble abode, seated around the table, color spilling between conversations. As I established deeper connections with our guest friends, I whispered my struggles discreetly, inviting anecdotes that portrayed facets of family power. They recounted childhood stories, deep laughter mingled with the trials of their own parents. I felt bolstered to dissipate the fog. By feeding these memories into my son's psyche, I could chip away at the barriers Melanie erected. Destined to reveal the truth, I could feel my plan crystallizing. But would David perceive Melanie's true colors before it slipped out of reach entirely? I was resolved to be proactive. I would not let the tension paralyze our family further. I would weave our narrative back into the light, and I intended to do it with grace. Time accelerated as I meticulously prepared for the upcoming weekend dinner, the air buzzing with anticipation. I'd invited a few close family friends to gently support my mission while fortifying David's connection to our shared past. This gathering would be pivotal. The vibrant anecdotes I had coaxed from my friends would lay the groundwork for a deeper conversation about family ties, love, and resilience, shedding light on the love hidden beneath Melanie's glitzy facade. The kitchen was alive with the scent of rosemary and garlic as I chopped vegetables for our slow-cooked Sunday roast. A symphony of noises filled the air, the sizzling skillet, the chatter from the living room, and the soft melodies of classical music playing in the background. David entered, a smile brightening his face as he grabbed a handful of parsley. "What are we making?" he asked, his enthusiasm palpable. As we cooked, I subtly wove our family narrative into the mix. "Do you remember the time we had Aunt Sue and Uncle Jamie over for that enormous Thanksgiving dinner?" I asked, stirring the pot. The kitchen was so packed we had to serve the food buffet style. He laughed, a sound I savored, recalling the chaos that had ensued. And I think I took all the best rolls and left everyone to scramble for the last scraps. Just then, I caught a glimpse of Melanie arriving. Her car crunched into our driveway, and with her, I could sense a palpable shift in the energy. All right, we have to keep the mood light and joyous, I thought, positioning myself with renewed determination. As guests trickled into the house, I orchestrated the groups, encouraging laughter and sharing stories about my early years with David. I offered fleeting glances at Melanie, taking note as she merged into our world with calculated ease, but I maintained focus on my intentions. I would bring David back into the tapestry of unadulterated joy that once defined our family. As dinner commenced, laughter filled the room, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. The table was adorned with breathtaking autumn flowers, a centerpiece of love at its finest. I could see David engaging with our guests without hesitation, effortlessly recounting charming anecdotes that elicited warmth from all sides. Ah, remember that time Clara tried to teach you how to ride a bike? One of our family friends chimed in. She ended up running into a bush. The laughter erupted and David joined in the chorus, glancing over at me. For a moment, I believed we were transcending the barriers Melanie had erected. But just as the joy swelled, Melanie interjected, easily transitioning the conversation to her recent achievements in work, her voice bright and eager for attention. As she spun tales about her networking skills, my heart thudded in my chest. Here was the subtle theft of connection and belonging, and my grip on the table tightened. I refused to let her monopolize the narrative. Melanie, that reminds me of a time when David struggled with public speaking, I interrupted, the words flowing forth as I recalled the memories. The room sensed the pivot, shifting focus back to us. He was terrified until we crafted this elaborate speech together backstage. His passion shone through, and he even charmed the audience. I spoke proudly, watching as David beamed beneath the spotlight of shared history. Melanie's expression turned icy, but I pushed forward. David, you should share the speech with our guests, right here, right now. He shifted nervously, the warmth of the moment overshadowed by the pressure to perform. But I remained hopeful, wanting him to grasp the significance of that memory. The room pulsed. Friends joined in supportive encouragement, urging him to stand and deliver. As David rose, the timid mask he wore slowly evaporated, transforming into a confident smile. He shared snippets, laughter mingled with self-deprecation, the warmth of engagement wrapping around him. As stories poured forth, I could see him connecting with an audience, even amid Melanie's heated glare. When he finished, applause enveloped us, and my heart swelled with pride. He was regaining himself as a core part of this family, reclaiming laughter woven into our history. But Melanie appeared visibly irked at being overshadowed. That tension in the air thickened. She shot back sharper remarks, quick retorts dressed in faux humility. "Don't get too carried away with the applause, David," she sneered, attempting to quench the warmth around us. Not everyone has the privilege of being taught how to speak without sounding foolish. In that moment, I caught David's eye, searching for signs of doubt, but I saw determination gleaming back. His clarity hard-won through shared stories and unexpected strength. I realized we had reached a turning point. I could continue pushing back against Melanie's sharp barbs, but I knew there needed to be something deeper. As the evening unfolded, I felt renewed purpose surge through me. I whispered my mantra once again. They can mute me at the table, never in my heart. Embracing that understanding, I opted to take a slightly different approach. I pivoted the conversation toward resilience and strength, ultimately inviting our friends to share how family bonds helped them through tough times. I could sense David absorbing the essence of the connections formed across the table through laughter and engaging moments. Each story redirected focus away from Melanie, capturing hearts and rekindling connections. The laughter that had waned began to spiral upward again. Melanie's barbs aimed to break our narrative deflected into the ether. By the end of the evening, as guests poured out into the crisp night, I felt victory resonating throughout the house. David lingered, the light of the gathering still flickering across his face. "Thanks for tonight, Mom. It felt real," he breathed, finally drawing closer. "I mean, it felt like family again." He searched my eyes, vulnerability clouding his gaze. "I felt lost for a while. It's like I've been stuck in this whirlwind with Melanie and I can't break free." In that heartbeat, everything shifted around us. I reached out for his hands, holding them tightly. We stood entwined in warmth, our connection blossoming anew with unspoken promises. Melanie may still loom, but we wouldn't allow her to overshadow our dynamic ghost anymore. The bond we'd reignited was strong, fortified with love, memories, and new strategies, a promise of hope glowing like embers stoked into flame. As we shared that moment, a sacred understanding evolved between us that our family story would continue to unfold in ways that rendered us invincible against any shadows. The weeks following that pivotal dinner felt like an exhilarating crescendo, each moment amplifying our connection. David and I forged a renewed commitment to authenticity, crafting a bridge that spanned back to those cherished family traditions that had been lost to the chaos. With each dinner we hosted, I felt our bond solidifying like iron forged in a fire, prepared to withstand any external pressures. Still, I was acutely aware of Melanie's presence, always lurking in the shadows of our gatherings, ready to unleash her pointed remarks at the slightest opening. We were not yet free of her manipulation, but I felt emboldened to counteract her influence more strategically. In one of our family dinners, I loaded the table with our favorite dishes, a spread smelling heavenly as if it had been prepared with a dash of love, a scoop of nostalgia. Guests arrived, the warmth of their presence infusing the air with excitement. I positioned David close to me, ensuring he felt anchored amidst the convivial chatter. "It feels amazing to have everyone here," I remarked to a cousin. "You know, this keeps our family close. Every laugh and memory draws tighter, the bond that's slipping away." In the chaos of serving, I slipped subtle affirmations to David, times when he shined brightest. "You did fantastic in your presentation at work the other day. I never doubted your skills," I whispered when I handed him a glass of water, letting him absorb kindness without judgment or critique. But just as the laughter crescendoed, I felt Melanie slide into the conversation like a snake through grass. "You know, if David only took my advice more seriously, he could really advance in life," she announced, her tone veiled with false sweetness. All eyes shifted toward David, and a palpable tension filled the room. He blinked, momentarily entrapped in the web she had spun. I quickly intervened, carrying myself with calm vigor as I leaned in closer. "David has so much potential. He's made strides without anyone weighing him down." Met with Melanie's dagger-like gaze, I could hear the change in atmosphere as our guest subtly shifted. Memories of our past together injected vigor into the space, and I continued weaving our family thread. "Remember the time we hiked that mountain together, David? It took grit and perseverance, but we conquered it together." I smiled, capturing the moment. Melanie shifted nervously, the smile faltering just slightly. Seizing her moment wasn't enough. She couldn't overshadow our history. I sensed David begin to draw strength from all of us, the camaraderie wringing out the layers of doubt that often engulfed him. As the evening wore on, I focused on evolving our family's narrative, shifting any mention of Melanie's influence and pointing toward our values as a unit. I carefully crafted the topics, guiding the dialogues to encapsulate love, loyalty, and tenacity. Every family travels through darkness. What matters is how we overcome it together. With each story I pushed forward, I could feel the shift take place. The whirls of laughter and banter became a testament to unity. Family members shared their experiences of perseverance, undeterred by Melanie's hovering presence. After the guests left, David and I sat quietly on the couch, the remnants of our evening still luminous. "Mom, that turned out better than I expected," he admitted, his voice warm. "I almost forgot how powerful stories can be. It's what keeps us, what needs to remain." In that moment, his words sparked a greater sense of resolve deep within me. But there was still a sense of anxiety tethered to Melanie. While I had gathered overwhelming support, I knew the true test lay ahead. I began capturing moments with David alone, inviting him into our garden that flourished outside. We discovered simple joys there. The colors vibrant against the earth, the smell of fresh blossoms cutting through the air like laughter itself. Gardening became a sanctuary, a retreat from the chatter of our home, a space where we could share dreams boldly without the specter of scrutiny lingering overhead. "Mom, you're like our plant whisperer," he joked one afternoon, watering the delicate blooms with focus. I laughed, delighted. "You can learn this too, you know. Strength flourishes in nurturing and patience." In the growing exchanges, I learned to expose moments of his brilliance, emphasizing his strengths, the gifts he possessed, and the kindness beneath his gentle exterior. Elements Melanie overlooked in her quest to commandeer our family narrative, but awareness buzzed persistently. Melanie's comments were relentless. During another family gathering, she aimed low, targeting David with veiled darts. "Yes, David, we've all seen how far you've come with your presentations. The key to success in life is knowing who to rely on," she declared, her voice syrupy. The protective instinct surged within me. "Or it's knowing how to believe in oneself," I countered deftly, hoping to steer the conversation back toward constructive ground. The fire raged beneath my skin. I could sense the shift in David as he was caught between us like a leaf swaying in the autumn breeze. The tension thickened, but as I redirected the focus through stories of resilience, I felt barriers begin to dismantle. Melanie's words meant to suffocate blossomed into dust negatively, leaving space for David to breathe. "Melanie, you always have a way with words. Maybe it's important David learns to form his own narrative?" I posed calmly, watching as David reoriented himself. We practiced purposefully reframing the negative encounters while artfully unfolding the humor and genuine love that surrounded us. Each evening crescendoed into emblems of dignity revived. I was drenched in the gleaming potential, ready to fire through Melanie's weightiness with flowers of resilience and the steadfast warmth of love. But clarity set in. Deep down, I knew our true challenge lay ahead, a confrontation with Melanie advancing into the unknown territory of our hearts. I felt unwavering, still standing with David anchored to strength forged from memories, hearts entwined, our family story staunch against the shadows she impinged. The tension hung heavy like a storm cloud, shadowing our recent progress. Each gathering buoyed our spirits, but I could feel the weight of Melanie's presence coiling around us, waiting for the right moment to strike. I knew we had reached a tipping point, and that evening, under the guise of camaraderie, the storm would break. Sunday came with casual smiles and plates piled high with comfort food. David had invited a few friends, eager to showcase our newfound warmth, but as guests mingled, Melanie entered, her polished demeanor silently announcing her intent to disrupt our tranquility. As she entered, the laughter wavered. "Oh, how lovely to see everyone basking in this cozy little atmosphere," she said, her words dripping with faux sweetness. A tension crackled in the air, and I gripped David's hand firmly, willing him to withstand whatever onslaught was about to unfold. "Thank you, Melanie. We're glad you could join us. We've been sharing cherished memories," I offered, hoping to smoothly redirect her approach. "Perhaps you'd like to share a few, too?" Her smile tightened, revealing the hostility lurking beneath. Nostalgia can be comforting, can't it? But at some point, reality must take precedence. David blinked, tension threading through his posture. "Actually, dreaming is important," he said, a flicker of determination igniting in his voice. "It pushes us to become who we're meant to be." A wave of pride ignited in me. I could see him beginning to stand firm. But Melanie clearly wouldn't concede easily. "Dreams don't pay bills, David. Maybe you should focus on concrete realities instead of whimsical fancies." I felt fire lurch in my chest. David doesn't need to choose between dreams or reality. Embracing both is essential. My role is to support him, I responded, feeling the weight of the room shift slightly toward our side. Melanie's irritation flared. Support, is that coddling him? Doesn't anyone see the consequences of enabling a false sense of security? David held my gaze, and for a heartbeat I wondered if he would crumple under pressure. But he inhaled deeply, and I sensed him tapping into his strength. "My mother nurtures my strengths. That's what family is for," he declared, the warmth of his words igniting courage within our guests. The room buzzed as David fought against her accusations. "I won't let you poison that bond," he added, a defiant edge in his voice. Melanie's facade crackled, her control slipping as she struggled to regain dominance. "How charming! But, David, don't you realize what you're giving up?" "There's nothing to give up," he insisted. "My mother has always believed in me, and that's why I can believe in myself." Silence enveloped us for an instant, tension thick and palpable as the truth set in. I felt a profound sense of relief washing over me. Our family story belonged to us, not to her. Before Melanie could retort, I stepped into the void, my voice ringing with conviction. This family story is built on love and support, not fear. You've dominated for too long, no more. Our guests buzzed with anticipation, lending strength to our directions as I saw Melanie's confidence wane. This was our moment, a confrontation unfolding against the tide of manipulation. As confrontation peaked, I could feel the fragility of her grasp dissolving. The fabric of our family had shifted, untethering itself from the shadows of her dominance. The warmth of solidarity wrapped around us, inviting discovery and reclamation. In that heartbeat of clarity, I knew a silent vow had been forged. The chains once binding us to Melanie would be shattered, moving forward. With David at my side, the darkness faded. We were anchored in our truths, ready to embrace whoever tried to undermine our family again.